This is a Culture Inject production.
Welcome back to Part of Us. We have a lot to unpack in this episode, so we're going to jump right into it. But before we really get into it, you got to make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at En Vogue Craze, and on Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. If you have ideas or interview requests, comments, or questions, then you can email them to us at partofusevf@gmail.com. And if you like what you hear, please rate and review our podcast.
Okay, this is all topic, but I remember Matan, you mentioned in the email about talking about our favorite groups or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So there's context to what we're saying, because like if I'm saying I don't like something, I want you to understand why I don't like something. And then I will understand, like, when JP says he doesn't like something, which seems like he doesn't like anything. But I'm just kidding. I know you like like En Vogue related, I'm saying. It seems like you love Escape and SWV and all those other groups. But, like, when, so I can kind of get a feel for you. Like, what are you listening to now? What did you listen to then? So I kind of understand where you're going. Like, when you like a music video, like, this is in the vein of what you like. So we each record, like, these are my favorite types of, these are some of my non-EV favorite artists. These are some of my non-favorite EV videos, my non-favorite EV music directors, like a segment, but it's like separate, so not all together. We record it, we send it in, Matt edits it, and then it's like you kind of get to know the person, like spread them out. So like episode 4, JP, episode 7, Champ, maybe in the second season, get to know Josh, get to know Matan, like that. So you kind of understand our musical taste a little bit better. And so when we're giving critiques, they're like, okay.
Ooh, like your 5 essential albums or something like that. Like,
right. Because I was trying
cool.
to
kind of give people an inside look on our musical taste and stuff like that.
Right.
And like our point of view and how we critique in the podcast. Oh, that makes sense.
Because like, what does it tend to JP as far as the album? Like, what albums would they be in? Not En Vogue related, but like, so I know what because I don't want people to just think we're being negative and critical. Like, so if we're doing album covers, like, like you explain a category and why you're rating something the way it is, that'll help, I feel like. And it'll help people get to know us a little bit more. Well, I would like to talk about Don's, I would like to say that Candy, I heard her show, Candy and the Gang or whatever, was canceled by Bravo. So sorry to hear about that.
Excuse me?
I heard that's what it is, because when you're on reality TV, you can only do so much.
I ain't heard that. I ain't heard no official word yet.
Well, we're waiting on that, but it was entertaining. Did she have her aunts wearing vibrating panties like she did the ladies on Real Housewives of Atlanta?
No, why would she do that?
I don't know. She just seems like, I don't really hear in the news for her music. It's always something, sexual assault allegation. Let me stop. I'm just trying to mess with JP. I'm just messing with JP. Wait, what about Don? She, in one of the episodes, we talked about her being hacked. Well, we didn't talk about her being hacked. We didn't know she was hacked. We talked about her scrubbing, or I talked about her scrubbing her Instagram, but she was actually hacked. So she's back at it, still posting COVID misinformation and, just being, herself.
Wait a minute. I did see something about her being hacked. So, like, what happened?
Well, I guess a rabid fan just was like, Don, you're doing it all wrong. Let me
she got a whole new page.
I'm still blocked. I can't get.
You can follow the new one now. So she can block folks again. So her old one was Dawn Robinson Diva. Now she's official Dawn Robinson.
Oh, let me see here. Look at you. Now you can follow your girl again. Oh, wait a minute now. Hey, girl.
Are you able to follow her?
Yes, I am.
Yay! See, that's what's new and what is trending.
Let me follow my girl. We're gonna get it right this time. This lady done blocked me on MySpace.
Her bio says new page, new energy, high frequency, formerly of En Vogue and Lucy Pearl, currently solo.
With the period, Joanne, let us know.
Oh, she looks good though. Best wishes to Dawn Robinson.
Oh wait, and Champ, we have to give it a first Champ because he heard EV placement on what was it, the challenge?
Oh yeah, so a cool little thing. I was watching the Challenge All Stars on Paramount Plus, and they started playing "Give It Up, Turn It Loose," and I was like, "Oh my god!" Because one, that's not a song that I've heard get a placement on anything, to my knowledge. So I thought it was like a really cool song choice for them to choose, and it happened like while they were like in the competition, doing something. Yeah,
that
like they were
like it would fit.
But it did.
Okay.
To me, at least.
I thought somebody was going through it, like there was a love triangle or something.
Oh no! Like they were like in the midst of the competition, and like it was somebody in a confessional, and then it was like a mood change, and then the beat dropped, and it was like ooh, I was like ooh, it moved. So that was really cool to see. So get your money, Tommy and Denny. Get your money.
Child, why I go to this page and this new Dawn Robinson page, and she just has this subtle way. I just wish she would just let it go, because she posted on May 24th a photo of her and Terry and Cindy performing Riddle at the Berkshire Hotel in 2010, and she wrote "Originals only, LOL." I just don't like the petty stuff. Like, I know we sound like a broken record here because every time we talk about Dawn, there's always an antic, there's always a something. But like, I really just want like peace, just peace.
It's very much like, oh, you can't sit with us type of thing, and that's why that is my main gripe with Dawn. I feel like every chance she gets, she's always taking a dig at Rhoda. You know what I mean? And then you have these fans who like to continue. Oh, I want the originals back. The originals, girl, they ain't been back for 15 years. It's been 2 decades. Shut up. And that stuff like that is, I'm like, originals only. Girl, you wasn't even in a group when this song came out. Stop it.
I mean,
you were the riddle, girl. You were the riddle.
Rona's on their nationwide tour, and I mean, when she starts singing, people give it up. So I mean, originals only. Where is it? And is it with roommates or in your mother's house? But anyway, also if we're talking about placements, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, I was just going to say best wishes to Dawn Robinson.
Best wishes, Dawn. And I hope your Instagram doesn't get hacked again. I hope you're able to keep this account for as long as possible.
Matan, was it you? Did you hack our account?
It wasn't me. I would never do that. I wouldn't.
It was JP hacked JP hacked the account so he can be able to follow the new one.
It's the fact that she changed her profile picture on her old one to hacked. It's like... I'm like, well, girl, if you was hacked and you got it back, then why are you letting go of your 10,000 followers to go start over on the other page? Change your password.
And the last thing, I just want to ask you guys, I know this is a transition, but did you guys see Ari Lennox? She has some kind of YSL ads for one of their lines, and she's like dancing and singing to Free Your Mind. Did you guys see that?
Oh, I did see that. That was really cute.
Yeah. So En Vogue is still, their music is still making the rounds. And I love Yves Saint Laurent. Like, that's one of my favorite labels. So that's haute couture. So go En Vogue.
For sure. Relevance. The
relevance.
So.
Originals only.
But where though?
I'm a Rona stan.
But where? Because it's not on tour. It's not on
the placements.
And it won't.
Original placements only.
And it wasn't even on Riddle, which is the shady part. She over here posted a photo of her singing Riddle with them girls, but she won't even on the record. Ooh. Originals where? But yeah, it's time to get into discussion time. This episode, we are going to be revisiting En Vogue's 1994 Vibe issue. We can sort of tackle this a bunch of different kind of ways. And first up, we're going to talk about the photos. So the photos, Matthew Rolston, who we've talked about a lot, obviously on this podcast, was the photographer. Troy Jensen was the makeup artist, and Danny Flynn was the stylist, and they killed it. For those who are unfamiliar with Matthew's working relationship with En Vogue, he directed the groups My Lovin', You're Never Gonna Get It, What a Man, Don't Let Go Love, and Whatever music videos. He also photographed the group on many, many, many occasions, including for Vibe, Spin, and Cosmopolitan. What do y'all think about these looks from this issue, and what's your favorite?
I love the picture with, who is this, Terry on Cindy's stomach, and Maxine's behind Cindy, and Dawn is on Terry. I just love that picture. It looks it gives me friendship vibes.
That's my favorite too. I love that one too, because it's kind of like feminine, but it's like, you know, I think Cindy looks kind of cool in like her baggy clothes with her pregnancy, you know, body. And then I think that, yeah, Terry and them platforms. I love the picture with all four of them in the corner with all the print.
That's my favorite too.
I think they chose the wrong cover. They chose the wrong photo for the cover.
Be in mind, I think, Champ, you're the one where it's kind of like it's giving gravity because the magazines, they're on the floor. Magazine's head is, you know, laying separate from everyone else, and then that's your favorite, Champ.
Yes, they
Mine
look
too.
like it reminds me of like Charmed. They look like a coven of black witches, and I love it. Like Dawn with that hat, the dark lip. Terry with I love Terry with his curly hair. Like, it's great, and that little hint of like brown, it's so good. That's definitely my favorite. And then of course Maxine looks freaking amazing in the solo shot with her leg up, baby.
Yeah, what do y'all think about these sexy photos? These are some sexy photos. I'm a fan.
I would have preferred, like, Matthew Rolston. I love his videos, but he's not. I don't even think he would rank as one of my favorite photographers. I would have liked, like, I like the high fashion one. And so, like, the one that me and Champ picked, it's kind of high fashion. The rest, I mean, it's showing their closeness as a group. I get that. But I just like Stephen Meisel and Paolo Reversi, like, just more so high fashion. I would have preferred that. So this is very, I don't know. I've never liked sexy too much. That's not my thing. So I don't want to say exploitation and, you know, these, you know, beauty standards of women. So their breasts have to be all the way up. But I just like, I don't know. I like whimsical. So
So as part of the interview, Dawn actually explains what started the animosity between Luther and En Vogue, and she says, quote, "It's pretty simple. Luther asked us to do Arsenio for the tour, and we said no. We'd done too much TV, and we thought we were getting overexposed. We apologized. We said we were sorry, but Luther wouldn't let it go, and it became his camp and our camp going at each other."
That's such a outdated concept, because now it's like you can never get too much exposure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you got to be willing to, like, you know, compromise and play ball a little bit. I mean, you know, if you're joining him on his tour, he wants to go on to promote the tour so that the tour sells. You know, I can understand why he would feel away, you know, to do all the calling the police and being extra over the top like what he did. Like, that's taking it, you know, way too far. But, I mean, I think they could have, you know, compromise, because I'm sure it probably came off to Luther as if, oh, y'all saying y'all too good to go on TV and I'm the only one who need to go on TV.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure Luther was like, oh no, Miss Thing.
Right.
I was going to say, we talked about, like, the Spice Girls in another episode, and, like, that level of fame, like, I can say they were overexposed in a certain extent because, like, there was merchandise and movies and just, they were really everywhere. En Vogue, I'm thinking about En Vogue in, what was this, 1993? And, like, where are the live performances of Give It Up, Turn It Loose and Runaway Love? Like, there were none. So what is the overexposure? Like, a few small projects, like, not small projects, but just, like, where were you?
Fun fact, the Spice Girls did a duet with Luther Vandross. Like, there is a televised performance of them doing a cover of Ain't No Stopping Us Now, and then they released it as a B-side on one of their singles.
Luther said, if I can't get one girl, I'm getting another one.
Even at the most overexposed, the Spice Girls were like, bring it on, and we'll do another one. Let's do another thing.
I mean,
that's
why didn't Luther and En Vogue like do a song together? Like,
right.
Yes.
You know,
Like, who is on your team? Whoever anything about overexposed. Like, I could see if it was 1992, but 93, like, they never performed Runaway Love they never performed What a Man at that time. Like, we're in Vogue in 1993, overexposed. Like, that, to me, that's bad management. Whoever got into their heads thinking people are singing too much, and we really weren't. We really weren't. Their team.
And I think it kind of comes off like they felt like they were just bigger than Luther. And, I'm sure that created, the tension.
Yeah, because essentially Luther was the bigger artist at the time. And it's like, oh, well, we feel like we're overexposed. You feel like you're more exposed than I am, and I'm the headliner? I can see, it definitely is a miscommunication, but I can see how Luther would take offense to that type of decision. But of course, like I said, to keep it going, where the two camps are like clashing constantly on a tour, that definitely is super petty. Like, it happened, let it go, but still a bad decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, he called the police on us when we were in Miami because he said we walked past his door to go to the stage, and he wanted us to take a cart and have one of those golf carts take us around, drive us around to the front of the venue of the Coliseum, right? Wow. With all the fans, mind you, at the concession stands buying stuff. You want us to drive all the way through, all the way through the hallway, go to the front of the building and walk down the steps, past all the fans. Hey guys, hi! And walk to the stage.
Wow.
Do not pass my door.
So
he called the police. The police showed up. The police were like, "Oh my God, we thought you guys were like tearing the place apart. So what's going on?" And we were like, Luther does not want us to walk. And we took them in the hallway. This is his dressing room right there. This is our dressing room. That's the stage right there. Luther Vandross wants us to literally leave our dressing room, drive all the way around the venue to the front of the house, and walk down to the stage. And the stage is right here. This is our dressing room. This is Luther Vandross's dressing room. This is the stage.
Wow.
He doesn't want us to pass his dressing room to go to the stage.
That's crazy.
He wants us to drive all the way around the venue and walk to the stage.
But then they still did the episode anyway, though, right? Because what episode they were on that one? Like, we've seen it, haven't we? All seen that episode where they're on Arsenio and they start singing when the cake comes out, and then like they're shooting darts at each other, their eyes, like it's like they don't go over, and like so they ended up doing it anyway, and it was still beef. There's an go on YouTube. There's like video of them on Arsenio, and they're like, "We wish you a happy anniversary," but like they never.
Luther was there.
Luther was there. Luther was there looking mad. So was that the same episode, or was it a different episode? Like, so many things in their career to me are just like, why didn't you do this?
Like, can you imagine a Luther Vandross and En Vogue duet? Like, when Mariah and Luther did it, I think, didn't Endless Love go to like number 1 or number 2? Like,
well, it's not one of her number 1, so must have went to number 2.
Such a missed opportunity for sure.
So Dawn also goes on to explain, and I quote, "We'd also signed a contract knowing that the band was supposed to be on stage, but it was a rotating stage, and the band was blocking the views. We were getting bad write-ups. We told Luther, and he could have said, 'It's not your fault, let's get it right.' The vibe we got was the total opposite." I mean, they did say
back when reviews mattered.
They did say they were overexposed. So it's like, I'm helping you out. The band is covering you, so you don't want to be overexposed.
That's exactly what Luther said too. I don't want y'all to be overexposed, girls.
Right. So you let the band cover you every so often. Luther was a diva, so this doesn't surprise me. You tell him no once. This is what a diva does.
I mean, like, it's just... what's the name? Arrested Development. They spoke so highly about En Vogue and about how En Vogue really made room for them on stage. And then En Vogue always talks very highly about their experience with Hammer and how he was like, oh, these speakers aren't good. Let me get you some new speakers. So Luther, I don't like the pettiness. I don't think I'm necessarily a petty person. I know I can be defensive and things like that, but just to be in that position you're in and be Luther freaking Vandross, this R&B legend. And maybe that's why, in a lot of conversations, he's missing, because I feel like Prince, I know he's not up there with Michael, but like Prince, Janet, like he sold a lot of records, but he's not in that conversation. And it might be because of that bad attitude and negative energy, because it's not just En Vogue, it's Anita. I remember I watched El DeBarge Unsung, and like he didn't like how much applause that they were getting. He got into it with Aretha, even though I know, they made peace because she was at his funeral. But it's like, compromise and just give a good show. So if they're complaining, you want to have the best show. To me, that's kind of comes across as insecurity to me when somebody's like, oh, we could do this to make the show better. And you could just compromise instead of saying, well, you did this, so I don't like that.
I think a lot of Luther comes from him being a repressed gay man. And a lot of those, like when you're unhappy with yourself and you're not living in your truth and you see these fabulous women who are just draped in sequin and extensions and makeup, and they are just living the fantasy, and you want to live your fantasy, but you can't. So you got to sit up here and pretend like you want to sing to ladies, knowing you want to sing, knowing that you want to sing, to your man, your live-in lover. So I think that had a lot to do with it. It's like repressed, anger. Like for real, like I'm being so serious. And I think when you're not living your truth and you're essentially unhappy with yourself. And when you're unhappy with yourself, you take it out on any and everyone. And I think that was just the case with Luther Vandross, unfortunately. And can you imagine, I think Dawn and I believe the other ladies confirmed when they said that, they can't wear sequins on tour. And he said, I'm a girl group too.
Yeah. Well, this is how he put it. He said it in the meeting that we had. He said, I was sitting by Terry and she was digging her fingers into my leg because she was like, did he just say that he's a girl group? Yeah. He said, I am a girl group.
Oh, wow.
That's going in my book. Yeah. He said he's a girl group. And so what he meant was, I have these girls that are here with me, Ava and Lisa. They are the ones that I want dancing around on stage with sequins hitting their dresses. I want them to catch the light. I don't want to, you know what I mean? That's why you guys signed that contract.
Luther was like, I'm not having you hoes come up in here and outdo me. I am a girl group. We're going to be draped in sequins, not you.
The thing is, Luther, his background singers, like Lisa Fisher, the legend herself, like his background singers were very much a part of his show, and he really gave them moments to shine. I mean, Lisa Fisher won a Grammy, and then
but he's still not a girl group.
No, but that's how it was presented. Like his background singers, like it was like they were a group together because he styled their outfits. They all. And that's the reason why he said they couldn't wear those colors, because he was like, I want my two women to be the stars, the leading ladies of this tour. So it was like if you watch some of the clips, like it's as if they're a group because they're standing with him.
Why couldn't it be Tony, Orlando, and Dawn, and not Diana Ross? Is what I'm,
Because it would be Luther, it would be the two chicks, and he also had a male singer as well. And they had choreography, and Luther would be snapping that little finger. Yes. And I was like, wait, y'all thought Luther was straight? Like,
It was a show. I really felt like he was dressing the women in ways. I'm like, if I was a woman, I would wear this. You know what I mean?
I mean, the gowns were so much extravagant. But still, I mean, if En Vogue wanted to be in little coochie dresses, I mean, it wouldn't have took away from what Luther was giving, like, at all.
Those dresses look very matronly. That I saw that his back, like, I wouldn't want to see En Vogue in concert wearing, all those sequins and stuff. Like, I would have liked to have seen them in something a little bit more funky, but that's me. But to go off what you're saying, I just want to, before we forget, did you hear that story Dawn told about, like, her going to, like, she said they got bad write-ups for their costumes, so they went to some kind of mall in Houston that had, like, Dolce & Gabbana and all these designers, and she was like, ooh, there's these sexy, I think, like, thigh-high boots or something like that. And she was like, Luther saw them and was like, ooh, let me get a pair. And I'm not trying to clown Luther.
So we got a loan from the record company because we're not going to be on the road and be talked about. We are En Vogue and we're going to get up here and look our best, okay? So they came back with these boots. The boots were thigh high, so they were like, I can't show you, but they were up to my thigh. They were like, Dawn, you're the only one that can wear these. And we bought you this leather, kind of a leather mesh, kind of over like what they call a duster. So it was down to my ankles, but it was see-through. So it was like a pattern of leather, and they were they braided them all together, but you can see inside of it. You can see through it.
Yeah.
And they were like, Dawn, you have to put on some hot pants because we got to get our sex appeal back, and only you can do that. I was like, you guys. But the boots were Versace, and they had all these buckles in the front, all the way up the boot, all the way up to the thigh. Gorgeous. Wow. They said that Luther Vandross walked in the store and got a pair of those for himself. He was asking them if they made them in his size, but they were women's boots. So I'm not putting them out on Front Street.
I mean, I love Luther Vandross. I think he's like one of the premier male vocalists. So, like, any listeners out there, I'm not trying to clown Luther. We're trying to give you context, because a lot of you people, you don't get the context of what all that is. And like what JP is saying, there's a lot of issues there. And that's why I think, if anything, like, I'm not so keen on a biopic, but if there's like just like a mini series on that tour, because there's so many different layers.
Feud.
Like, right, feud, Vandross versus En Vogue, which probably if he has an estate, they'll never greenlight. But like, seeing like what it was to be a gay black male R&B singer in like the 90s, like all this little Nas X and all this stuff, like that didn't exist back then. So his backstory, their backstory is being for a black woman, and the music industry is just doing them wrong, and they're having to tour, according to Don, because the money's not there. Like, I would love to see this, but like, it's a lot of trauma that we're discussing with Luther, I feel like, and he's probably, like I said, I'm very defensive. He's probably very defensive too, and so defensive to the point where it's like, he's going to go on the offensive before you even do anything. Like, he's ready with the venom, and I know what I'm laughing, but I feel bad for him.
Yeah, and I think that's really why Luther isn't a part of certain conversations right now, because he died so early that, like, when a lot of the legends are getting their flowers and they're going on tour and they're accepting awards and stuff, it's, they're in their 50s and 60s, and Luther died. I think he was barely 50. Like, he died pretty.
I know he died
young.
in 2005. I remember I wrote an article about it for this news magazine, but I mean, like, really, like, if
he was 54 when he passed.
Wow.
And like, so. Yeah, that is so young. When you think about our legends like Patti LaBelle, who's in her late 70s now, and you think about the people that he came in with that are getting their flowers now, they're alive to kind of be there and to still sing and to reap the benefits of that longevity. And he died at 54, Before he had a stroke, he was still in great voice. He was still putting out music on a major label. So, like, he died really at a peak in his career. Dance with My Father was huge, even before he passed. And, that's when he died. So,
and it's unfortunate. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, unfortunately, I just think he's missing out on being a part of certain conversations. Like, when Prince died a few years back, like, he was, legendary. Like, he had been around to, kind of be alive during the time where people are revering him. And I do hate that Luther kind of missed that.
And then I feel like you can't even. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, and to die at 54 years old and not living your truth is also just heartbreaking. But go ahead.
And because I'm sorry, I keep wanting to piggyback off of you, but I'm not even letting you finish, so I apologize. But to piggyback off that, it's like you can't really fully talk about him because it's like his sexuality is still a point of contention where you have his fan base who's older, and it's like I don't want to hear about Luther being a homosexual. So when Patty went on Andy Cohen and he kind of like, I don't know if he tricked her or she just, you know, she sees nothing wrong with it because like she's always been an ally and, you know, with the gay community, but when it kind of she slipped it up, people were still upset like Patty shouldn't be talking about that.
Right.
So there'll never be a biopic, there'll never really be an in-depth documentary, there'll never probably be, you know, an in-depth book because it's like, well, we can't talk about this, and that's so much of the man, and that's sad. So like when we're laughing and stuff and gagging, you know, we're still gonna gag Luther because we can, but it's not coming from a place of, you know, maliciousness or hate. It's just we understand where he's coming from, but we still gonna gag Luther because you can't be messing with our girls, Luther, up in heaven.
Yes, I relate to Luther in a lot of ways, like with his mother and stuff. Like, that is a whole other podcast. But God bless Luther.
God bless you, Luther.
I think this episode really turned into Feud, En Vogue versus Luther Vandross.
They should make a limited series off of that. It will be HBO Max or one of those. It's Netflix, Hulu. Like, get on there like that. People would love that. That's gonna have to
go to TV One.
Or even like it didn't even have to be like a whole series. I could see them doing like a season where every episode's a different feud, like a small feud, like mini feuds. Cause you know, the ones that they've done so far have been, well, they just did the Betty versus Joan. That was like long decades of history kind of hating each other. But like, it could be interesting to see them do that. And I don't think you need, these days, you don't need the permission from the estate in a lot of these cases, because you have people who are now taking articles and using articles as the basis for like, think about like the Pam and Tommy, they did a Hulu show called Pam and Tommy. They based it off of a New York Times article or like a Vulture article or something like that. So like you just need a piece of like a publication of some sort, it seems, to like sort of make a show off of. So I could see it. That could be fun.
So Don, I know you're not giving us a book, so write a little article and try to sell it to somebody so you can, you know, maybe get your own apartment. You can take my idea, Feud, Vandross versus En Vogue. Take our idea. We just want you to, you know, get it produced. Take it somewhere, Don. So another interesting quote from the article is this: we were created with someone else's dream in mind. We were forced into a situation and we made it work. A reminder that none of the members really knew each other before joining En Vogue, which makes their chemistry and blend all the more impressive. That quote just seems to come out of nowhere.
Have they ever said it that way? Like, I mean, oftentimes they're very sort of, what's the word, reverential or like thankful and grateful to like the process that landed them where they landed. But like, this is the first time it feels a little bit like tinged with a little like, we were forced into a situation and we made it work, is a very like pointed way of saying that. So I don't know if maybe at the time they were feeling some kind of way about something, but it is interesting that they said it. Like, I'm not sure which member said this specifically, but like, it's interesting that they said it that way.
I agree with that. One, because it's not, I mean, the vision of a girl group is someone else's, but the dream of being a singer, that's your dream. So you're still living your dream. It's just in a different way. Also, you weren't forced into a situation. You auditioned, baby. So, you know, I don't know who made that comment, but but this is a lot of girl groups. This is how a lot of girl groups describe their situation when they audition or when they're like chosen and put into a group. Danity Kane has said it. You know, Destiny's Child, well, not Destiny's Child, they grew up together, but like, you know, when Michelle and Farrah came into the group, like, you know, like a lot of girls just like, oh, well, we were kind of like, we didn't know each other. We were put into a situation. It's like, yeah, well, that's kind of how most jobs work. You know, I don't know my coworkers, but we find a common ground to make the day. So that's just how jobs work.
I wish we thought about that more that way, because I think we sometimes like romanticize these like groups as like they're supposed to be sisters and friends and lifelong kumbaya, hand holding, whatever. And sometimes it works out that way, but it's also a job. Like it's a business. And so like you just show up and do what you're supposed to do. Like that's okay too.
Exactly. Like it's like you don't have to be BFFs. Like you actually can have a great working relationship. Like I think we all had jobs where we had like our work bestie, our work husband, our work wife, where it's like, when we're at work, like you're my road dog. When I go home, like I'm not calling you, I'm not hanging out with you. So it's like, yeah, let's do this out, let's do this tour. We had a great time. And then when it's over, I'm going to go on my break, go see my family. I'll see you in 9 months. You know what I mean? Right. So, not to like, knock the person who made this comment, but I guess because it's the industry, because it's the glamorized industry, it's like a reoccurring thing where people make this comment and it's like, no, you are working a job. You don't have to be besties. Just make it work. And you'll create some great things, But
so I'll be the devil's advocate and say there are 2 albums in here. They're on a hiatus. Now, I know you two, the 2 babies of the group, Champ and Joshua, you guys are Spice Girls fans. Now, the Spice Girls, from what I understand, they met at an audition, same process, but like immediately, right away, I know there was like a different one, and then I forget which one came in, maybe it was Jerry, but immediately they were like, no, this is our group. We don't agree with management. We want to do it this way. Get to know, we want to dress this way. We're going to write our songs. So they took ownership of their group. With TLC, it was kind of like the same thing. Like, I think it was Crystal's group. Well, maybe they did. Maybe it's a little bit different, but definitely Spice Girls. So at this point in their career, I feel like En Vogue is still someone else's vision. And maybe whoever said that, which I think is Don, is like, okay, when does it become our group? Because I feel like En Vogue has never been the members group. Even now, it's really still not. It's still someone else's vision. So at what point, and I'll just throw this out there. At what point does it become your group?
It can't be. It can't be rude because it's someone else's vision. With the Spice Girls, like when they met out on audition, like they literally like created their entire brand themselves. So they pitched this idea to the label, and it's like, we're the Spice Girls. We all kind of embody different personalities of girls. Our theme, our message is girl power. We write our music is still, you know what I mean? It's like they kind of have this vision, and it already fit their aesthetic. But with En Vogue, it's like, well, this is we're a product of a production deal. So Tommy and Denny, like
then they did it again. The Spice Girls did it twice because they sacked their manager Simon Fuller, like 3-4, the most powerful man in their career. Yes. And they were like, "This ain't working no more." I hear that. Where is that energy?
Yeah, maybe it's different in Europe.
But I feel like it's specifically an En Vogue thing, which will be my probably point of contention as we go out all of this way. It's like, when do you say this is about us? It's not about anybody else. I feel like everything they do is centered around certain people. Like they'll always have this team, even when it's not working. So I could feel the frustration of the person who's like, well, when does it get to be my vision? Like if I want to work with this person, but I can't because the other 3 always want to stick with the same people. I mean, like you said, the Spice Girls did it twice. Like, and they did it at the very beginning of the career when they don't have a pot to piss in. They're probably, scraping together pennies. And then En Vogue has 2 successful records, and it's still like, okay, it's, we have to, I don't know. I'm just.
Now, I can't believe I'm saying this, but that was Dawn's hold on. Am I about to defend Dawn on this podcast? I cannot. Literally, that's what Dawn was trying to say, but because she was the oddball out, she didn't have no power. The Spice Girls were 5 women. The Spice Girls, they were 5 women who were on the same page, and they stood their ground. Even when you talk about, who did I have in mind? Even when you talk about the show Girlfriends, where they all 4 had a meeting about pay and etc., and they were going to go to the producer of the network together. But then when they had a meeting, Jill Marie Jones, she said that she was left out by herself, and it was as if like she was just on her own, and then she ended up leaving the show. But it's kind of like, if all 4 main characters of the show say, this is what we want, the network is going to oblige, because they are the show. If it's just one person, we can get rid of you. You know what I mean? Because that's how the industry works. So, but at the end of the day, this is what Dawn was trying to do, but the girls would not get on her page. And what happened? She was ostracized.
Here's the thing with the group. It does not work if everyone is not on the same page. I mean, you can even go back to Salt and Pepper, and they have talked about this when, Salt was sleeping with the manager.
Harvey Love, he was the producer.
Yeah, the producer. Whenever that happens, pillow talk is a serious thing. The person you sleeping with and laying down with at night, you gonna automatically kind of roll with that person. It's just kind of, that's life. That's what it is. And so whenever, you're doing something that's outside of the best interest of everyone in your group, there's always going to be an imbalance. And, I think En Vogue is just a product of that, and we see where we are, so. Okay, so getting back to Luther versus En Vogue, Shep Gordon, who managed Luther, gives his take on why En Vogue left the Never Let Me Go tour. There are lots of ways you can subterfuge anything. You can make up anything you want. They allowed the tour to be advertised in places like London, and only then did they send us a doctor's note that she was too far pregnant to continue. She knew she was pregnant when she started. It's unfortunate that she didn't tell us. Besides, says Gordon, if it was all so unbearable, why were they there?
That's protected information now. See, that's why. This episode, I'm putting myself on mute. This is triggering me.
But if you are agreeing to go on tour for X number of months, and you have a condition that may prevent you from finishing it. Maybe legally you're not contracted. Maybe legally you're not obligated to say certain things. But I guess the point he's trying to make is, if you knew that when it came time to do those international dates, there would be a chance that maybe you wouldn't feel up to it. I guess he's saying that it would have been nice to know that, that's the case. Yeah. As Luther's manager in this moment, he's speaking from his management perspective of, okay, now what do I do? So I get it. Yeah. But on the flip side, if Luther would have been nicer, I'm sure that, it probably would have made the situation more bearable, and they probably could have finished the tour. So.
More than one critic has observed that after you've heard their hits, what you're sometimes left with at an En Vogue concert is dead air. The heated, swooning sensuality of their videos cools on stage. It gets stilted and corny and becomes, of all things, prim. So, gentlemen, have you attended any of En Vogue's earlier concerts? Did it feel boring to you? I can say that I haven't seen them in their heyday.
I did not see En Vogue in their heyday, so I cannot comment on that.
I haven't either, but I feel, I don't know, that's a weird
But critique. I think that's some bullshit, because when I see those YouTube videos back in the heyday,
they were like, the energy was there. The energy was there.
But I wondered, how did they really tour though? I guess I don't think En Vogue ever toured like a headlining tour.
They did the Funky Divas tour. Arrested Development opened. R. Kelly opened some dates.
Oh. Yeah, I don't remember that. Well, I was.
You have to remember, because you love Give It Up, Turn It Loose. So you've never seen the performance of them. I think they have like the leopard print or cheetah print bustiers and the black shorts, and they're doing Give It Up, Turn It Loose. That's like one of the two.
Yeah, I've seen the performance. I've seen that on YouTube.
Yeah, that's from the Funky Divas tour. So. What I will say regarding that is,
but how big was that tour? Was it like a big? Because when I look back at all the articles and things, it doesn't seem like that tour was massive. Like when I think about like a Janet Jackson world tour, or like a, who else toured a lot? Michael Jackson, TLC. Was that a big tour, or was it just kind of like a little, 10 cities type of thing?
No, I think it was a national tour. I know in Los Angeles they played the Universal Amphitheater, which I don't know if that still exists anymore, which is not necessarily a stadium. I think it might be a larger size theater. Well, I'm trying to answer your question and you're walking away from me, but I'll just keep going. I think they played Radio City Music Hall in New York City, which is large. So they did, a lot of venues. It was a national tour. Arrested Development opened, if you remember Arrested Development, Tennessee, like they were pretty big around 92. And, I know he's a figure of disdain and scorn, and rightfully so now, but R. Kelly did some dates with En Vogue too. So the Funky Divas tour, I think Destiny's Child went and saw En Vogue on that tour. There's that picture of Beyonce with Matthew and Solange and En Vogue. That's from Funky Divas tour. So there's pictures of celebrities seeing them backstage. So it wasn't, some kind of Ricky Dick thing. And then Hammer, I know they were just opening, but that was a huge tour. Like when people talk about their first concerts, like Gen Z, like most of it is Hammer, En Vogue, Vanilla Ice at that tour. So they, but the big one, their big headlining tour was Funky Divas, JP.
I guess for me, if any of their live performances is like a small inkling of what they would give on a tour, it seems pretty entertaining to me. Like their performance on the Apollo, their performance of Free Your Mind with the dance moves, like I'm just kind of like, their medley of all those old school songs on the Soul Train Awards, their Grammy performances. I'm like, no, En Vogue gave you a show. I'm pretty sure that they did.
Yeah, I think people didn't know how to take En Vogue because they're like these beautiful women, but they're R&B singers. So maybe they wanted something more in the vein of like Madonna, who was very theatrical and doing like a whole bunch of acts on stage. And maybe that's what I don't know what.
And because En Vogue was like the pioneers of the modern girl group. So I feel like what they were doing now, after the era, when the era of girl groups like came about, like everybody was stealing their foundation. So I'm like, okay, they were pretty much the blueprint. They're like the guinea pig. So I feel like the industry was still trying to accept this take on girl groups. You know what I mean? It's like,
like that famous Destiny's Child cater to you. Like that's En Vogue giving him something he can feel at the Luther Vandross show,
exactly.
But a little bit more prurient with the dad in the audience, and you're giving lap dances. But anyway.
Well, another quote from the article is one of the ladies saying, it's actually Cindy Herron saying this. And she says, I love to take En Vogue to another place, but it takes money, says Herron. When we played Radio City Music Hall, we had everything scripted and choreographed, so we never get caught not knowing what to do. Now I'd like to get away from all that. I like to be freer in the show, but the truth is we don't have the funds yet to pull that vision off. What do you think of this? Is that something you'd like to see from the group?
I mean, she's right. I mean, I think we're still seeing a version of that scripted sort of like, they've always been fine tuned. I always wish that they would just sort of like, that's why I think like an acoustic or like live unplugged where they're not down to choreography and they can rearrange and play around with things in a different kind of way. I always think that would be so much fun for them because I don't know that for them individually as people, they've ever had the freedom to do that with their own music, let alone with like other people's music. Right. So that could be fun.
Right.
I agree.
I mean, it seems as if, this statement has haunted them the rest of their career because this has kind of been like the boogeyman under the bed where it's like, the lack of funds, the lack of, budget, keeps them kind of pigeonholed in certain areas. The girls make do. They always have. So I understand that. And, a lot of, that is the issue with a lot of like older R&B acts, they're not in their prime anymore. So, they have to kind of stick to touring spot dates to kind of keep that career alive. And they don't have a label giving them hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. it's coming out of their pocket, or they have like a small budget from whatever independent label they're signed to. So I get it, like I said, I'm glad that they're in the stadium tour now and kind of getting that type of treatment. So in such an arena, an arena. But they're getting that in such a latter part of their careers, which I think is really cool, because it doesn't happen to everybody. It doesn't, except Toni Braxton. But yeah.
The monster, call it Frank En Vogue, was birthed in 1990 with their first hit single, Hold On. Back then, they were consumed as generic black Barbies in tight, sexy evening ensembles that made it very clear they were ladies, not hoes. At first, this is a quote from Dawn, at first, we were gonna look like an old type girl group. Then Danny Flynn got involved and we took it to another place. At first, they were like, and this is a quote from Danny Flynn, at first they were like just basic black glamour. So I had sketches done and presented them with the sketches, and that was it. The sketches featured the women in sort of high style, couture inspired get-ups that were soon to make major incursions on mass culture through video fashion shows like House of Style. So are you all happy with the direction that they went with Danny, or did you prefer the quote basic black glamour that we got during the Born to Sing era?
But besides the album cover, I love the fashion era of Born to Sing. They look great in all their videos. I thought it was great.
I like variety, so I like progression. I like a mix. So like, I don't mind jeans, but I don't want to see jeans for 2 years, if that makes any sense. So I like how they can jump from look to look, which I think they've done. So it's, like I said, it's a mix. So I'm happy with what he did, but I don't dislike what they did before. But I love how he did take them to the next level. He did do that. I'll give him that. Go Danny. Go Danny.
Well, when Maxine Jones auditioned for En Vogue, the producers told her, "You may never get a chance to sing lead," something she found discouraging since she'd always wanted to be a soloist or a famous singer, so I could sing 24 hours a day nonstop, she said. "The glamour thing is very weird," says Jones, an emphatically down-to-earth woman. She's the En Vogue member most transformed on video. She's shy, deliberative, and aloof enough that it's hard to imagine how the other members would come to refer to her as the mother or the anchor of the group. "Men always expect me to be taller and skinnier, and they expect my boobs to be out." Quote unquote from Maxine Jones.
That's crazy that they said she wouldn't get a chance to sing lead, or at least soften the blow of the possibility that she wouldn't, because she sang lead on some of their most iconic songs. And her.
But in context, like, groups didn't have a lot of singers, so why would that? To me, that's standard.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess if you come from for a lot of girl groups, at least from what I kind of see, is that they have their lead singer, and then you hire girls who can sing, can hold a note, can kind of give you the harmonies to kind of do the backing vocals, but also have a look and the style, but you have one lead singer. But for all four of them to be lead singers, that's kind of unheard of. And then for Maxine to be coming from like having her own band and being super popular in the Bay Area to, let all that go to be like a background doo-wop, shoo-wop pop, that is kind of interesting, because her voice is so dynamic. It's so distinct. It's like, why wouldn't this woman be a lead singer? Because she has that type of voice. So it's just kind of interesting, I'm glad that it didn't go that way.
No intention on being in a group situation, but I was so desperate singing in the Bay Area and going through musicians and doing hair, and I something had to give. So I figured at the time that it came up, it sounded great. Okay, a girl group. I'll take it. I'll take it. Anything.
But I can kind of understand like them trying to soften the blow. Be like, hey, just so you know, you may not be singing lead a lot, but we like that you're here.
This really makes me want to talk to Maxine because I just want to understand, like, what was her journey like in this group? Because it seems like from the beginning, it seems like they made her feel less than, or they made her feel like she was a bit inferior. You know what I'm saying? Because it's saying like, well, you'll never get a chance to sing lead. So do you think she doesn't sing as good as the other ladies? Or do you think she doesn't look good enough to be out front? Like, what is it that would make you say that this woman who's been singing, you know, who's a singer, who really sings, like, what would make you say she may not sing lead versus the other ladies? You know, like, to your point, Champ, most of the other girls, like, if you listen to SWV, for example, there's a clear difference between how Coco sings and the way Lily and Taj sing. Like, they're not on the same level at all. So it would make sense to say, oh, well, Coco girl, you're going to sing lead, right? Or if you look at, you know, the Supremes or, you know, a lot of other girl groups, the Emotions, you know, there's a clear distinction between the person who's singing lead and the other girls. There's maybe a more aggressiveness in the voice, or, you know, a kind of, a attitude, or, you know, whatever. There's a clear reason why one person is, you know, singing lead versus the others, but they were all 4 women who all sang very well. So I want to know, like, what made them say that she would not be the one who would ever get a chance to sing lead? And how did that make her feel? You know, like, how did that impact her psyche in this group? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're the one out of 4 girls who's been told, girl, you're not going to sing lead, like, that would mess me up in the head. You know, I would be like, well, what's wrong with me?
Or, I mean, she did say she found it discouraging, but to even go even deeper, I would love to know, like, what conversations the producers had with each girl individually to kind of let, like, so this is what we see for you for En Vogue. In the beginning stages, of course. You know, I'm like, I wonder what, you know, because obviously, even though En Vogue was their vision, this quote lets you know that the vision was obviously always evolving. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so what was the vision for the group in the beginning? Because one, it was supposed to be a trio. Terry was not supposed to be part of it, but then she was so amazing. They made it a foursome. So I'm like, well, I wonder what those individual conversations were, you know, about the girls. Like, this is going to be your persona, or this is your role in the group. And then at what point did it evolve? At what point were you like, you know, let's just do it this way, you know? But I guess that would be a question for Tommy and Denny. You know, maybe one day we can pick their brains to kind of get the inside scoop on how it all works.
Let's keep our fingers crossed for that interview.
In one of the last quotes, it says, in a closed cropped wig, Maxine Jones looks outrageously sexy and chic. Obviously, we all have our opinions. This is her saying. We all have our opinions, and we all have a say about how we look. She told me earlier, explaining that Ellis won't wear low cut dresses because she doesn't want to seem prudish. Ellis said, "I'll wear a bustier. All I ask is make the bra my size and not 3 sizes larger. I like my small breasts."
Hey.
And that Heron won't put on trampy clothes. And Heron says, "I don't believe anybody should be constricted, but women going without a shirt, that's to a point of vulgarity." And how Robinson hates anything that makes her seem too old.
My girl.
Period. I mean, you know your body. Let them know.
En Vogue, unhappy with their Vibe write-up, wrote to them complaining about their issue, which Vibe went on to publish in a future issue. Have you read it?
I don't remember. I know, but I think it's so interesting because, again, one thing about En Vogue is they are always very conscious about, you know, kind of what they put out there, especially today. They're very, you know, it's very old school PR. We like things to be a certain way. Like, it gives very much like, I don't want the real to be out there. And this article seems very real. Like, I don't remember reading this, but I enjoyed it because it seems very honest. And the fact that they had an issue with it is just very telling of kind of the era that they came up in and kind of wanting to control the narrative and wanting to kind of control how they're seen. Because to me, this is very honest, it's very real, and I appreciated this article more so than any other article.
And they didn't say anything bad in this article. I don't think that anything that they've said in this article is like really like, oh my God, they said that. Besides, you know, the comment about like, you know, being enforced in situation. Yeah. Besides that, I could see that could be kind of interpreted in a negative way. I like this, you know, because even now, like audiences and fans, we connect with artists, you know, who are being done wrong, who are taken advantage of, you know, where they're in bad contract deals. Like we're invested and we want to see you win outside of that. So I'm like, this article is pretty, it's pretty tame in my opinion versus like how other people have interviewed like a Bobby Brown or Whitney Houston, you know. Did
you read it, Josh? Because it seemed okay. Because I remember. But do you remember, Josh, what they wrote?
No, I don't remember. Do you?
Yes. So they didn't mind the picture. They thought it showed them as a close-knit group. They didn't mind them talking about Luther because it was an experience, but there were flagrant misquotes. They complained about flagrant misquotes in regards to Janet Jackson, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, and Nana Cherry. And this is all off the dome. So I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what they said. Okay, I think Don said something about Nana Cherry, allegedly, according to the article, like, I like her music, but she needs to get it together. Something along those lines.
Who is Nana Cherry?
Buffalo stands. We do it every time we dance. So don't you get fresh with me. And her brother is Eagle Eye Cherry. Save the night. But anyway, okay, so that's the Nana Cherry quote. Then I think the quote about Janet Jackson was like Cindy saying something like, you know, I don't want to listen to the same Janet Jackson song 1,000 times. It makes me want to jump out a window, something like that. Maybe I'm adding dramatizing, but it's basically they play Janet Jackson too much. And then there was I think the Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston quote, I feel like, who said it? It was somebody basically saying, like, these artists are cookie cutter, like the old school divas like Patty, Gladys, Aretha, they would basically slit their wrists for you on stage. So basically, you know, like Mariah and Whitney don't have the same amount of soul. So their letter was like, you know, we call Whitney, Mariah, and Janet personally to apologize. So that's basically what it was about. So in the article, there's going to be quotes, and they're saying that those were misquotes, flagrant misquotes, and that was one of their issues with the article.
Y'all said it.
They said it, but I'm sure it was one of those things where it's like a journalist is making you feel comfortable and you feel like you're just having like random candid conversation, but it's like, no, everything is on the record, baby. If you don't want it on the record, you have to say that it's off of the record. So, yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny because at first I was like, well, maybe they didn't say it, but now you're putting me in the frame of mind that they did. And now I'm thinking, like, one time they did this behind the scenes. Like, I guess they were at some place in the UK. I remember it was like someplace in the UK. And Cindy was like, Madonna performed here when she still had the gap. But it was like, I don't think she knew, like, the camera was recording like somebody. But I mean, they didn't take it out. So maybe they can throw shade a little bit every now and then.
Right.
But if they're saying they didn't say it, I want to believe that they didn't say it.
And they're still doing it. Because you remember, what was the podcast when they were doing the podcast like last year, a year or two ago? And they were like, we don't want to talk about certain people, but like, you know, some groups, they just let themselves go. And I was like, oh God. I was like, damn. But, you know, I think that like maybe it wasn't. Also, people love to pit women against each other and like celebrity and that kind of thing. Like people want to hear a celebrity talk shit about another celebrity, etc. So like maybe Vibe went really heavy on the quotes about other people and less about the other interesting things, and they felt it was uneven or something.
And Vibe was known for that. Like, I know Champ and Josh are babies, but like I was somebody who read Vibe like all the time, and I would keep up with what happened with Vibe. I remember the editors, there's Danielle and Emil Wilkerson or whatever his name was. But like Mary J. Blige, I think Veronica Webb did an article on Mary, and Mary was like ready to fight Veronica because she was like, "Oh, I was drinking, but you were there drinking with me," something like that. Like basically, like Mary's life is out of control, and like so Vi was known for that. So that's why I could see it both ways. Like I could see them being shady, but I could also see Vibe adding tins on it. But what I did like was that they were woman enough. I don't know why they didn't call Nana Cherry. Maybe because it's like Josh, they don't know her. But they called Whitney, they called Mariah, they called Jen. I was like, okay, I would love to have heard that conversation with Whitney and with Mariah and with Janet. Because, like there is something about, when celebrities interact with each other. I know Janet was really cool with them. Donna said she's been over at Janet's house. But I know they met Whitney. I know they presented Best New Artist Mariah, but I would I would love to see like pictures of them together and see how they would interact with each other. But they called them and apologized.
I think as much as I love En Vogue, this article does kind of give me some, it kind of, my antennas are going off because we also talked about the Luther and En Vogue feud. There is also, I know that there was like this thing where En Vogue had like a feud with another girl group at the time that I can't remember who it was. But I would love to know what was En Vogue's reputation in the industry. Like what did their peers think of them? You know what I mean? I will, because maybe that plays a part in like why En Vogue is, because I do feel like En Vogue is left out of a lot of things that I feel like they should be a part of, but they never. Like for example, do y'all remember that performance? It was Beyonce, Mary J. Blige, Miley Cyrus, Mariah Carey.
Yeah, stand up to cancer.
Yeah, like stuff like that. And granted, I knew it was like all the it girls, but it was also some legends up there too. Aretha Franklin was up there, etc., etc. Shaka Khan.
Aretha was on there.
Yeah,
Aretha was on the stand up to cancer.
Wait, well, which one was she on? I'm probably getting them all like mixed up.
You get Divas Live mixed up.
Stand Up to Cancer had Mariah, Mary, Beyonce, Miley, Rihanna, and that was more the it girls at that late 2000s era.
Yeah, but there are a lot of things that I feel like En Vogue should be a part of. But and granted, like. I don't know En Vogue outside of their group personas. Like I don't know them. I feel like we haven't really got it. I don't really know them like I know Beyonce, where she's like, I had a miscarriage, there's a video of me online of my sister fighting my husband. You know what I mean? Like there's some raw stuff that we get from these celebrities now that I don't really feel. I feel like the rawest we've gotten is like Cindy getting a divorce, and she's 60, and then their breakup. And then of course, Maxine calling them bitches on TMZ, like, but it's not a lot of drama. So all that to say, I'm curious as to how their peers felt about them at that time. You know what I mean? Like, even though they, apologized to Mariah, what did Mariah think of them a year from then? They apologized to Whitney and, is that the reason why they weren't on the Wait to Exhale soundtrack? Is those things play a part?
That's a good question, because it's always seemed like En Vogue is just En Vogue was, even in their prime, it always seemed like they were just kind of on an island by themselves a little bit. Like it, like they didn't collaborate with a lot of people. They didn't, like we were just, talking about why would you go on tour with Luther and not do a song with him? And the only collaboration they did was with Salt and Pepper. And it's like, how are you the hottest group in the game? And, you're not seen kind of rubbing elbows and being, in the mix with the other people that are, at the top with you.
like when we were talking about EV3, I didn't have time to say like, how do you not do a song with Missy and you're on the same label?
Right.
Like certain things is just like there was somebody kind of blocking them from doing things like, oh, you're overexposed, don't do this. Overwritten.
Yeah. So why did they have a cameo in the Ladies Night video? Like, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
And that video had people from all the record labels, everyone.
Everybody.
It kind of comes off, and maybe this is what rubbed Luther the wrong way. To me, as we talk about it, it kind of comes off like they were like, we're better than y'all a bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it kind of gives that vibe of like, we're here, even though we don't have the money, we don't have, you know, all the other things, but we're here, we're up here, and y'all are down there, even though, you know, we haven't been around as long as y'all. We haven't sold the record, so we don't have the coin, but our people are kind of putting us on this pedestal that we are above y'all and we're looking down on y'all. That's kind of the vibe that it's giving.
But then still, like, if that was the vibe though, I don't, like, he did take it too far to me as, like, pregnant women. Like, I don't play when it comes to that. So you calling the police on her and all, you know, wanting her to do all the stuff, go around the venue because she can't come in through a certain way when she's pregnant. Like, butch it up a little bit, Luther.
It definitely was a tit for tat that it was like, okay, this is stupid, you know. So
yeah,
but and just to be clear to the listeners and everybody else, like, I'm not trying to like, you know, create this narrative that, you know, oh, the girls are bees and people don't like them. I'm just kind of like, you know, sometimes people can catch you on a day where they interpret your energy wrong. They interpret, you know, how you answer questions wrong, or even, you know, if they're saying they were misquoted in this Vibe article, you know,
or on the opposite side, like. I'm sorry, just catch you up.
I'm just saying, like, you know, something can be, you probably saying it's misquoted, maybe it was like misinterpreted. Like, how about, you know, maybe you were made a comment in jest, but then it was written as if you were like trying to throw shade. Like, that's how things can be misinterpreted.
But to be honest, I don't even think it was that. To me, En Vogue always comes off as they do what they're told. They follow their management. I don't even think it was them so much. To me, it comes off as like whoever was handling them, their management. To me, it comes off like their management and their label intentionally kind of kept them separated and kind of put them on this type of pedestal to keep them away from everyone. I don't even think it was them as individuals, because I mean, we've seen, like, you know, they have close bonds with certain people like Terry with Holly Robinson and all of that. So I don't even think it was so much of them being misquoted or whatever. I think a lot of times when you're at a certain level, you have handlers and people who keep you away from, you know, certain things, you know, and a lot of that is so that they can control you. Because if you're hobnobbing with other people in the industry who can tell you, girl, you don't need to do that, or girl, you need to call so-and-so, you know, like, if you're around people who can give you knowledge, you know, your handlers don't really want that, because that's going to impact their pockets at the end of the day. If they can keep you secluded from the people who are giving you the real deal, then, you know, they win. They continue to milk you.
And they could be, and I'm gonna say this, so we can move on because I know it's getting late. But I'm gonna say it. A lot of times, management, your team, they can misrepresent you because they think that they're fighting for you, and it's like, no, you can be assertive, but don't say it this way, because then it might seem like I come off as like, oh, for example, it's kind of like, oh, well, Terry Robinson, she only drinks Fiji water. You know what I mean? And it's like, she probably does only drink Fiji because it's like, it tastes different. You know what I mean? And she's like, is there Fiji? Can I just get some Fiji? You know, and it can be the most sweetest thing, but if your team says Terry needs Fiji water in her room, that's all she drinks, somebody could be like, oh, you know what I mean? It's just like how you present it. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you know, management, their tour team or whoever it is, like, maybe they misrepresented them in certain kind of ways when it came to, like, talking about contracts, or I don't know. I'm just theorizing.
All of that.
I'm theorizing, but who knows? But let's move on. We can continue for another hour at that point.
On to our newest segment, which is us talking about some of the rare and unreleased and B-side tracks coming from En Vogue. So this episode, we're going to talk about It's On. It's On was recorded as a track for Masterpiece Theater, and it was written and produced by Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy. And its inclusion was on a sampler for Masterpiece Theater released in advance of the album's actual release. However, due to uncleared sampling, the song was excluded from the album. What do you all think about this track?
I thought it was fine. I mean,
I didn't like it. It's just, to me, I didn't listen to it recently, but I remember when I did hear it, it's another one of, I feel like everybody sings the lead. It's disjointed and it just doesn't keep up with what was out in 2000. And, my mind goes to so many different places when I'm thinking about, music and what was out, like trying to remember what was out at that time. But I just know in 2000, producers were like the gods. It wasn't the artists anymore. It was like, who are you working with? Like, what producers are you working with? It was the Pharrells, not the Pharrells, I'm sorry, the Neptunes. Like, producers were a big thing. So production was huge.
I think that song sounds more in line with what was what. I mean, it's the lyrics is, we keeps it hot. Can you imagine Vogue saying it keeps it hot? That is funny. I mean, it sounds okay. It's another one of those songs with a little guitar type of, funky guitar type of thing. I mean, it's all right. It probably sounds more commercial than anything else that would have been on Masterpiece Theater, but I don't think it wasn't going to be anything that was going to like shift, the atmosphere for them. Yeah, it definitely did not give 2000 at all. It gave more, mid-90s, I would say.
So now we're going to head to our submitted letter for the episode. And this one comes from Romello. Romello says, "Hey y'all, it's your boy Romello. With En Vogue's The Gift of Christmas turning 20 this year, should they re-release it? Or maybe even re-record it with Rona doing Amanda's parts? I mean, she already did that on Soulflower, and we have yet to hear the original version with Amanda on it. Just like we have yet to hear the original EV3 album with Dawn. Also, with both the good and bad moments that's happened within the group during the past decade thus far, could you foresee En Vogue ever being a quartet or even a quintet again? Personally, I could see Max amicably returning to the fold down the road and having them become EV4 2.0 again, a la 2006 to 2008 era. That would be cool, as that's my favorite EV4 configuration."
I mean,
a supporter.
I feel like they need something. So, yes, I hope Maxine comes back. As far as The Gift of Christmas, I don't think it needs to be re-released. It was not something that should be re-released. But they could do a new Christmas album.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's worth doing again.
What Christmas song?
I mean, even though nothing's going to top Silent Night featuring Maxine Jones, but because it's the sound of the Iggy. I just want to hold you close, my dear.
Like what Christmas?
Yeah, that was Dawn rapping.
That was Dawn rapping, right? But like, is there any Christmas song that you want specifically to hear them do like covers? Because I don't like new Christmas songs. Never hit the way they should.
All I Want for Christmas Is You.
By Mariah.
I could hear Cindy singing that.
I'm actually an advocate for like new Christmas songs. I know they don't hit the same, but I feel like they do kind of find their lane. So I will be here for like how Mariah Carey did her new Christmas special and she did that song with, Ariana and Jennifer Hudson. Like, obviously that song will never top All I Want for Christmas Is You, but it's a cute song. Even Kelly Rowland's new Christmas song,
is a cute song.
Is really cute. And it kind of like, it's a cute song. So I would be here for like some new Christmas music, as long as it's up tempo, not a ballad, not a slow song. But I'll be here for that. And obviously, I'm always here for Rona being on more projects.
Have you heard Rona's version of Come All Ye Faithful? I love that. It's from the Mickey Mouse Club Christmas that was released, I think, in 2000. She is killing that song.
Oh, no, I haven't heard it. I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah, if it's not online, I'll maybe try to rip it and upload it. But she is, I love it. Come and behold him.
I want to hear them do, I like Christmas music, but I like sort of older Christmas music. I like they could do like the Emotions, What Would the Lonely Do at Christmas. They could do like Purple Snowflakes by Marvin Gaye, like some just like really sort of like atypical sort of Christmas songs. That would be kind of cool to me. I don't want to hear Silent Night for the 55th time, or like, it's just it never really, it doesn't hit like it used to when people released Christmas project like albums and promoted them and did the things. People just throw Christmas music at the wall.
I would
now.
also be here for like collaborations. Like, I would love for them, if there's going to be a Christmas album, do some collaborations, and not just collaboration with singers, but maybe with musical directors that could probably like take some older songs and give it like a new flair. I sing in a group called Jason McGee and the Choir En Vogue. If y'all do a Christmas album, we want to sing background. Thank you. Okay, bye.
And I would totally want to see that configuration of EV4, just to hit the second part of the question. Because I don't know, maybe I think my heart kind of fluttered a little bit when I saw what looked like an olive branch extended, or there was, whatever the HRC moment that Maxine had was in the video that was shared. It just felt like a nice, like, I was like, oh, maybe there is a door open where that can happen again. Cause I think that would be a fun configuration. Of the group.
I would love for them to do Mary Did You Know?
Ooh, gospel. I would like that too.
That would be great. They did Mary Did You Know? And also, Romello, I am an advocate for the En Vogue quintet, but that is just my own fantasy.
I'm not. I don't want the quintet. The quartet, but Maxine has to release her solo record. Like, you can't do all of that and then not actually come out with something. So, Maxine, please finish that solo record, release that, and then, if your heart is in a good place, then, I would say...
Well, tell BET to do a movie special the way they did the New Edition. Do like a 3-4 part movie series with En Vogue, okay?
But the difference is that the men know how to get the bag at the end of the day. They know how to put that bull BS to the side.
Yeah.
And get to it.
Because New Edition has had worse drama than En Vogue. They've had fist fights.
And what I appreciate about New Edition, though, as we wrap up, what they did do, though, is there was drama about who owned the name. I think only 3 of them maybe had the name, but this last go around, before they were able to go back on tour and do all of that, they all now own the name. And they made sure that, because I don't think there's a way that you can do it and expect everyone to come on board and have the same passion and love for the brand if they're not all equal contributors of the brand. And so they ended up making sure that all 6 members you know, their names are on it. And I think that's the type of olive branch that kind of makes people kind of go into a situation with a different heart. So at any rate, I hope we do get that. What is it? Quartet 4?
I could do without it, but it would be nice to have.
I just think vocally they need something, child.
On The Masked Singer, they were killing it. I don't care if
vocally, like, they had some extra people
harmonies
in them backgrounds.
But no, on the when they had the mask on, but when they did that, when they were unmasked, there was no pre-recorded vocals. You could hear all the parts, and it even sounded like there was a fourth, but that was like the voices kind of bouncing off each other. That was brilliant. That when Rona did that me and that me, oh my God, that's one of the best vocal performances, I would say, all throughout the years. Those harmonies were impeccable on I Said a Little Prayer. So I don't know why people are keep trying. But anyway.
So you can stream Part of Us on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, and most other podcasting apps. For more En Vogue related content, find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at En Vogue Craze, and on Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. If you have ideas, interview requests, comments, or questions, email them to us at partofusevf@gmail.com. And if you like what you hear, please rate and review our podcast. Thank you to the co-host for joining this episode. If you could just let folks know where they can find you on the internet.
Everybody loves JP at Twitter and Instagram.
Your little dog too on YouTube.
And you can find me at Josh Jinx on Twitter and Instagram. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This episode of Part of Us at En Vogue Fancast was researched, written, produced, and edited by Matthew at Culture Inject Productions. The intro and outro music was produced by Wolves and Vincent Tone. We're more than just a podcast, we're a fan community. You can keep up to date on En Vogue and chat with other fans by visiting En Vogue Craze on Facebook. You can also follow us on YouTube and Instagram at En Vogue Craze and Twitter at Part of Us Fancast. Part of Us and En Vogue Fancast is not endorsed by En Vogue, E1 Music, or En Vogue Records, and is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. En Vogue and its names, images, and audio clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.
Each day you're on my mind. It's hard
Go to edit.
Yeah, JP done deleted the photo from the thing.
Oh shit!
No, edit then undo and keep clicking undo.
I was like, did I do that? Like, Lord.
But we also got to talk about how they being. Oop, you deleted it again, child.
No, I just did. Hold on.
There it goes.